right, welcome back to Tactical Pontoon. Today we're going to talk about the Combat Armory Glock 19 frame. You've probably heard about these. You may have seen them online for sale. I think right now they're going for like $69 or $59 plus whatever your transfer fee might be, including a locking block. Now, I remember the first time I saw one of these and I thought, man, that is very cheap. It cannot be that good. So of course I ordered one in, and when I had ordered one, I saw a couple rumors where people said that their rails, they were having trouble with their rails being uneven, and just it's not the best looking frame. It is a little bit simple. Not a huge fan of the way the trigger guard looks, but that's just looks. I know there are some definite polymer wizards out there that can make this thing look amazing, and I do plan on doing that. Now, that being said, this is supposed to be a Glock 19 replacement. It is supposed to fit almost all of your Glock accessories. I have run a Glock 19 magwell on this. Some of your Glock magwells I tried, I think it was the Steel City Arsenal. I had trouble with it fitting this frame. I had a Zev that worked fine. I had a Magpul that worked fine, and a couple others. So not all of your magwells are going to fit. That is something, if you are a magwell freak, you're gonna have to check. But let's get into this frame and what I personally think about it. Overall, the fit and finish on one of these is pretty good. The holes are in the right place. They're a little bit tight right off the bat. And because it seems to be more of a polyglass style polymer, it doesn't have the same give that a like your factory Glock frame is going to have. So the pins fit quite a bit tight at first. That's really not a bad thing, especially if you're not somebody who's constantly taking it apart and fiddling with things. But if you just want to put together a gun really quickly, this really is a good little frame. The price reminds me of 2019 when you could buy a Glock frame for, 30 bucks. 25 depending on where it was at. So that I do miss those times. Don't get me wrong, I love Nomad frames. $200 is a little bit much for a frame, but at the same time, with the Nomad, it's pretty much already done and ready to rock and roll. It's not a Polymer 80. It does have a serial number. You will have to have this transferred in. I know for some of you that's pretty much a deal breaker already. But if you don't want to drill the holes, or you're afraid of drilling the holes in the wrong place, this one's already done. They're in the right place, and for $60, it's hard to go wrong. It also, for that price, includes a locking block. Now, this locking block it's not perfect. Would I trust it for a 9mm? Yes. Would I trust it for 357 SIG? I probably would. This is just one of them. I've got another one that I built, and this one has a little bit of a funky hole. Let's see if we can see it there. You can kind of see that hole is not the best casting in the world. The other side's good, but this one is just, I'm sure there are a couple of you out there with P80s that are shooting thousands of rounds through holes that you've just boogered up. Really, this is not a bad locking block. It's not the best looking locking block in the world. You should be able to use a factory locking block if you don't like this one, and I'm sure if I threw a complaint at Combat Armory, they'd send me another one. But really, for 9mm, I'm not terribly upset with it. It's a little rough, but I know a guy who can do some polishing, and that's what I did with my last one, and it polished up pretty decent. As I said, it's a rough casting, but you can polish it up if you're too worried about it, grab a factory locking block and rock and roll. Rails, I touched on the rails earlier. I did not see any issue with the samples that I've had with rails being uneven or anything like that. Just like the locking block itself, the rails are not the smoothest thing in the entire world. So if you're one of those guys that swears by flits or mothers or something like that, go ahead, polish those things up. They're not bad. The rails actually, and I haven't measured this, actually seem to be a bit tighter to the frame than anything else I've messed with. Factory Glock seems to be a little bit looser than these. So really, what I have found is when I'm building a trigger system for one of these, I actually get either excellent cruciform engagement or almost too much cruciform engagement. So to get the best break, I normally have to adjust these just a little bit, the trigger system. But that's not a bad thing. That means that the slide is fitting really close to the frame, which is going to give an excellent performing gun. It's a tight gun. I'm very happy with the rails on these, aside from needing a little bit of polish, but you can either polish it or you can let the slide do it after shooting the crap out of it. So for $60, this really is an excellent little frame. It's got your Glock style rail. Trigger guard opening is pretty much what I found to be almost exactly like a Generation 3 Glock size-wise. I basically can use a Leonidas system for a Generation 3 in one of these. It uses Generation 3 parts, Generation 3 mag release. I mean, you name it. It's Generation 3. It's basically like a $60 Generation 3 Glock frame with a few ergonomic differences, and of course, a different polymer. So, for that price, do I recommend it? Yes. For a custom build, is it something I would recommend? Well, as I said, I'm going to send one of these off for somebody to stipple to kind of see how easy this polymer is to work with. My guess is it's closer to like the SIG polymer, a little bit rough, a little bit more fiberglass based, which means it's probably not going to melt near as well as factory Glock polymer, but we'll see. That is, of course, out of my realm. We'll take a look. We'll get one built up. But if you're going to build a gun and you just want something that's going to shoot, I have no problem with these. So, do I recommend the Combat Armory frame? Yes, I do. But at the same time, I kind of want to tell you that I don't recommend it so that everybody doesn't buy these up, because I really like them. I actually look forward to building a few more of these guys, and I'd prefer that you didn't buy them all up. But if you do, it gets the initial Tactical Pontoon seal of approval. I'm going to go take one of these out and shoot the crap out of it, see if there's any weaknesses other than that. But overall, fit, finish is really good, especially for the price. And really not even especially for the price, but overall, because you know, you get one of your polymer 80s and you screw it up. Now granted, they'll send you another one, but I mean, you're not having to deal with that. You just put your pins in, put your slide on, put your trigger assembly on, and just rock and roll. So for the price, if you just want to build a gun, if you want to put one together, it's hard to beat the Combat Armory for 60 bucks. So that's it for this one. If you hold on for just a minute, I'll put this guy together, and we'll take a look at a Leonidas system in the Combat Armory. All right, we are back, and the Combat Armory is together aside from a slide stop because we're still just kind of in a test phase. But This is a Leonidas trigger system. You will not normally find this in the gold and red, but I gotta say it's pretty damn Spartan, if I must say myself. But let's take a look at the Leonidas in a combat armory frame. This Leonidas was originally built for a Glock Generation 3. I build them different for the frames that they go into. A Polymer 80, for example, this one done by XL Weapon Works. Pretty much a collector's item at this point because I don't believe he's doing them anymore. So this is actually a collector's item and is probably going to be put into out of my test frame rotation. But anyways, Polymer 80 uses a different version of the Leonidas than a Glock Generation 3 or the Combat Armory because of the trigger guard opening. They're different on a Polymer 80. They're actually larger than a factory Glock or this Combat Armory. So here we go. Let's take a look at Leonidas. We are right up against the wall. Break right through. Reset, nice and loud, very forceful. This is not a Timney trigger we're working with. And clean break, reset. Oh, such a clean break. That's breaking around 3 pounds. What a beautiful trigger. What a great frame. You don't really need to get it stippled. It's more of, it's not really like the factory, factory bumps and whatnot. This is more like what I would call one of your modern, like a, you know what this really reminds me of? This reminds me of the Taurus G2 Millennium whatever edition. It's grippy, but it's not overly so. You could still carry this grip and not be all chafed up, shall we say. Anyways, Combat Armory, this is Tactical Pontoon. We will catch you next time and look at some other really interesting stuff. 60 bucks, you should go get at least one. Make it 2. Just save a couple for me. All right, later.